Okay, I've done a video before on the Zeiss Duralyt, or Duralyt as Zeiss seem to call it, so I better stick to that. I personally have a 3 to 12 by 50 non-illuminated, and I said in my review that having had all manner of scopes over the years, that I feel that the Duralyts offer ultra premium levels of optical quality, like if you bought a Zeiss Victory or a Swarovski Z6. Very nearly those levels of optical quality. Not quite the same field of view, not quite the same edge to edge, but really good at mid-range prices. And I've spent a lot of time using mid-range scopes. Elite 4200s, Elite 6500s, Monarchs, Leopolds, and good glass, all sorts of things like that. And I've had my fair share of ultra premium, the 2,000 quid stuff, or 1,500 in low mag, and they're a step above the best of the mid-range, like an Elite 4200, Elite 6500, which I hold in great respect. They are a step above that optically. They've got good clicks, good ergonomics, good looks, good coatings, and they're only a few £100 more, so they represent this brilliant mid-point between a really good scope and the best of the best, but at decent money. I also particularly like the ret that is used. You don't get a huge choice of silly ladder rets and all that. You just get a redesigned crosshair, as it were. And I really like it. It's thin in the middle for longer than normal, and then you've got your thick stadia on the outside. I really like it. I think it's a perfect compromise for all sorts of things. I like the turrets, which are plastic, which doesn't bother me one bit. Clicky, resettable. I put labels on here for my rimfire. You could do the same. You're getting premium stuff at half price. For me, I'm sure a Victory 3 to 12 would be better, but it's twice as much money, and that's diminishing returns. So, love the Duralyts. I've used all sorts, and I thoroughly recommend them. Own them myself. Now, the question is, do you pay really quite a lot more for the illuminated reticle? Say this scope's 600 quid. I think it's about that sort of thing. Just say it's 600. The illuminated reticle one will be 800. You're talking about wages to get into the IR. And I was intrigued as to, on a low light scope, whether that was worthwhile. I've seen so many clunky, gimmicky IR systems over the years that I'm very cynical about it all, but they really seem to have given it a lot of thought. And I asked them if I could test a scope similar to mine, but with the IR. So what they did was they sent me the 2 to 8 by 42, much the same scope, just slightly lower mag. And it's got the IR, and I want to talk to you about my impressions of that as a complete IR cynic. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in the screen now. So that's the 3 to 12 non-illuminated. You could see the Duralyt logo at the back there, 3 to 12 by 50. Okay, so the 2 to 8 by 42, slightly more compact. It is just as bright. A stunning low light scope, be it for bore, be it for rimfire, be it for stalking. As I say, you've got to spend twice as much money to get 2% more. It is brilliant. Absolutely stunning scope. I recommend it unreservedly without agenda. This is the illuminated model, which is what we're really talking about. It adds a lump to the back. See there? And that is nothing but your battery compartment. In there, beautifully sealed. I mean, it's really, really nicely done in there. Is a little battery. Really quick to replace, no problem. I'm just going to turn it around so you can see the on-off switch. I've got all the professional clamps here, don't you worry. Holding rifles up just right. Okay, there we go. So you can see here on the back, you've got an on-off switch. These are little pads under here. So tap these, and on it comes. It comes on at the setting you used last time. It varies. Now here's me being cynical about IR, okay? Normally you whack it on and you lose all your contrast, lights up the whole image, like Blackpool illuminations, and everything's ruined. This is not like that. You tap this on and the tiniest dot, I mean probably 10th of a minute, 16th of a minute, tiny little dot in the middle of the crosshair lights up. That is all. In total darkness you can see it, but you don't lose any contrast. You can then have it so bright that you can see it on the brightest of days, clear as can be, for CQB type stuff. You can infinitely vary between it, between super bright for bright days and the tiniest little light for night use, and everything in between. You simply lean on the plus and minus buttons and up it goes and down it goes. Press them together, switch it off. It's completely flawless. I'm no fan of IR, but there are, particularly of late, some times when I've thought that maybe I could do with lighting the ret up. I can't see the ret. I can still see to shoot, but I can't see the ret. I don't think it's as common as people think it is, but there are times when you need that. And of course, my hunting isn't typical of everyone else's. You know, everybody has their own needs, and IR has its place. What I would say is, if you need it on a low mag scope like the Duralyt range, the biggest of them being 3 to 12, if you need it, I would thoroughly recommend this system. They have thought it out. It detracts nothing from the scope. The dot is tiny, right in the middle, infinitely adjustable, automatically switches itself off. It's just flawless. You know, it does exactly what you need without compromising anything else. So they've won me over. The only reservation I have is that you might put a small European elegant looking scope, and these Zeiss look nice. You know, I like this grey finish, I really do. You might put this on a fine rifle, and there are people who are quite conservative and they don't even like a big bell here. They like it all to be streamlined and small. I'm not bothered about such things, but it is a factor. And it must be said that by any standards, that Ocular is pretty clunky. It looks like you've got some night vision rig on the back there. And that isn't ideal for putting on a fine rifle. And there are systems that light up the illuminated reticle that aren't quite so bulky on the Ocular. So I would hope that in future generations of this excellent series of scopes that they will streamline that housing somewhat so it looks a bit less industrial. But I think it's worth the money. If you need IR, thoroughly recommended. I would say that having done some ratting and low light target shooting with the 3 to 12 by 50 and the 2 to 8 by 42, there's nothing in it. They're both great scopes. I don't want to go into the whole thing now about objectives, but the bottom line is the only reason a larger objective helps at night is on higher mag scopes where it gives you a larger exit pupil. On low mag scopes, it doesn't matter because the exit pupil is as large as you need anyway. So, in the real world, the 2 to 8 by 42 is as bright and sharp at last light as the 3 to 12 by 50. So, if you need lower mag for field of view and the reasons that you might want 2 versus 3 times mag, then unreservedly buy the 2 to 8 by 42. Do not worry that you're going to be losing out on nighttime, or should I say low light performance over the larger objective 3 to 12. I bought the 3 to 12 because I need the 12 times mag for my rimfire, which is where it sits. Everybody has their own niche. On this Marlin here, which I use as a sort of close range fast acquisition lamping tool, I will send this 2 to 8 back to Zeiss, and I will buy the low mag one, which I believe is it 1.2 to 5, 1.5 to 6, I forget, but I'll buy that one, which is a super tiny little thing, and that will be super rapid. And indeed, it's worth bearing in mind that if you get that model with the red dot, with the IR, you can then use it eyes open, and I believe that would appeal to the bore guys who need to shoot very rapidly running targets. If you used a very low mag scope like that Zeiss I've just mentioned, with the IR, you've effectively got yourself a red dot sight. So worth the money if you need IR, and I consider it to be an almost flawless system. And I consider the scopes to be almost flawless in their price range. In fact, I think they're an absolute bargain. So thanks to Zeiss, pleasure to use these scopes, and I'll be sorry to see this little 2 to 8 go back to them. Okay, thank you for listening.